what I do is I go like this. Then I click it. Then I vape. It's just like. Alright. The connection went bad, so we're gonna do it one more. I'm gonna show you one more time. There's no reception over there, so we're gonna do it like this. Let's make this video count. All right, we got it. Other than that, I'm gonna do something I shouldn't do. I'm gonna read out of this book to you guys. Oh, this is gonna be good. I'm just gonna pick up. Maybe you guys will get something good out of it. The strange accompaniment. The strange accompaniment. A strange accompaniment. All right, that's the word, accompaniment, which made it very hard to follow the play, enraged Gringor, all the more because he could not blind himself to the fact that the interest was constantly increasing and that all his work needed to be heard. It was indeed difficult to conceive of a more ingenious and more dramatic contest. The four characters of the prologue were lamenting in their terrible embarrassment when Venus, in person, appeared before them, clad in a fine coat of mail, emblazoned with the ship from the seal of the city of Paris. She came herself to claim the dolphin promised to the fairest of the fair, Jupiter, who, thunder was heard muttering in the dressing room below, supported her claim, and the goddess was about to triumph. That is, speaking without metaphor, to marry the dolphin, when a young child, habited in white damask and holding a daisy, an obvious allusion to the Lady of Flanders, came to contest the prize with Venus. Theatrical effect and sudden change of affairs. After some controversy, Venus, Margaret, and those behind the scenes agreed to refer to the master to the wise decision of the Holy Virgin. There was another fine part, that of Don Pedro, king of Mesopotamia, but amid so many interruptions, it was difficult to discover the object of his introduction. All these characters came up the ladder, but it was all in vain. None of these beauties were appreciated or understood. With the cardinal's entrance, an invisible and magical cord seemed suddenly to draw all eyes from the marble table to the dais. From the southern to the western portion of the hall, nothing could free the audience from the spell. Every eye was fixed, and the newcomers and their accursed names, and their faces, and their dresses were a perpetual source of distraction. It was heartening, save from Gisquette and Leonard, who occasionally turned away when Gringor pulled them by sleeve, save for their patient fat neighbor. No one listened to, no one looked at. The poor, forsaken morality. Gringor saw nothing but profiles. With that bitterness, he saw his whole framework of fame and poetry crumble away bit by bit. And to think that this very mob had been on the point of revolting against the bailiff from sheer impatience to hear his work. Now that they had it, they cared for nothing the same performance which began amid such universal applause, eternal ebb and flow of popular favor. Did they think that they had to come so near the hanging of the bailiff's men? What would he not have given to recover the golden hour? The usher's brutal monologue ceased at last. Everyone had arrived, and Gringor breathed again. The actors went bravely on. But then what should Master Canople, the hosier, do but rise suddenly, and Gringor heard him utter amid universal attention this abominable speech. Citizens and squires of Paris, I know not, by God's cross, what we are doing here. I do indeed see in yonder corner upon those boards the people who look as if they were spoiling for a fight. I don't know whether that it was you who called for a mystery, but it was not all amusing. They abuse one another and get no further. For a full 15 minutes I have been waiting for the first blow. Nothing comes. They are cowards who deal in no other weapons than insults. You ought to fetch a few wrestlers from London and Rotterdam, and then you'd have a treat. You would see the blows that could be heard all over the place. But those fellows yonder are a disgrace. They might give us a Morris dance or some other mummery. This is not what I was told I would see. I was promised a feast of fools and the election of a lord of misrule. We have our Lord of Misrule in Ghent, too. We're not behind you in that, by God's cross. But this is how we do it. We collect a crowd, as you do here, then every man in his turn puts his head through a hole and pulls a face at the rest. He who makes the ugliest is chosen pope by popular acclaim. There. It's very amusing. Would you like to choose your pope after the fashion of my country? At least it would be better than listening to those chatterboxes. If they would come and make their grimaces through the window, they can join the game. What say you, sir citizens? They are quite absurd enough specimens of both sexes here to give us a good Flemish laugh, and we have ugly mugs enough to hope for some fine grimaces. Gringor longed to answer, "It's almost over." But amazement, anger, indignation robbed him of speech. Moreover, the proposal of the popular hosier, who was greeted with such enthusiasm by those plain citizens who were flattered at being dubbed squires, that all opposition was useless. Nothing remained but to follow the current. Gringor hid his face in his hands, not being lucky enough to have a cloak to cover his head, like Agamemnon of Semiramis. Chapter 5. And this is where it gets interesting, and I guess the number one star of the book comes into play. Quasimodo. At least I know how to pronounce that one. Alright, peace guys. I'm out. Hope you learned something.